Hello gamers! This video is going to be a review on the Pulsar X2F. I've had it for a while now, and well, I think I have my opinion on it. So yeah, I guess there's not much else to say about that besides let's get right into it. So the Pulsar X2F, I believe, weighs 38 grams, which is supposedly on the heavier side and is what's a little disappointing for most people, as they expected, or most people wanted Pulsar to come out with a lighter mouse. I'm guessing, you know, maybe 34 grams would have been, like, it's 38, 36. I imagine they wanted like 30, ideally probably 20, but you know, you can't always, you know, something like that. And so what we got was this. And apparently it's also not that different from the beta mouse, because they had a beta and apparently it doesn't even look that different or very different. So some people are disappointed. But I wasn't in the beta, and so this is purely going to be my opinion, completely unpersuaded by that. And so yeah. So while there's a lot of disappointment for the mouse, as somebody who's really been using it on its own, you know, without any of that context, I have to say it's still a very nice mouse. And at the very least, it is a nice mouse, and it's not something I would be, you know, like trash talking, I guess. I don't know. I don't hate it that much. What I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, this is the peak of gaming mouse. I'm not going to say that, but at the very least, it is still a mouse that if you were to pick up, I don't think you would be disappointed unless you were a hyper enthusiast. You know? So, some things to note about the Pulsar X2F. It uses Huana Blue Shell pink dots. It's relatively lightweight, like 38 grams. In my opinion, it's not noticeable for me. I used all these 4 mice, and to me, they all weigh about the same, you know what I mean? The Pulsar X2F is a little bit more dense because it's in, you know, a smaller form factor, but for the most part, it weighs practically the same for me. Like, I don't even notice it anymore, and I probably would notice if it was like 45 or like 50, you know, but for this weight, it's mostly the same. So to me, that's not really a concern. But if you're gonna, split hairs on the weight, then that might be something you care about. Like if you go side by side and then that actually does bother you, know, yeah. I don't even know if I could tell side by side. If I had to rank all these mice, I don't know. These are all really similar in weight, but I don't think I'd be able to tell you which one it is, or, you know, get the right. I'd probably get something wrong. Anyways, with that out of the way, because honestly they are pretty similar in weight. Everything else about this mouse. Of course, the most important part of any mouse, or at least one of the most important parts, is the shape. The shape, I'm pretty sure, is just to cut down the X2 or the X2 CrazyLight, and it's pretty much just a like half version. So what's to say about that is it's a very safe shape. It's very tried and true. The Pulsar X2 is a very popular mouse that people like a lot for its shape. It's kind of like the GPX. It's like the GPX in terms of being a safe shape, but the Pulsar way. So it's a different, you know, kind of mentality, I suppose. But yeah. So the Pulsar X2F, even in the fingertip shape, grip shape, is still really good. And in terms of fingertip grip, I still very much like it. It's, in my opinion, not the hyper enthusiast. Like, it's a very safe shape, like I said. So, but I guess the weird part about that being a safe shape is that it's a safe shape, but basically forces you to play into a fingertip grip now. So I guess this is perfect if you were using an X2 regularly or X2 CrazyLight and thought, hey, I want to use fingertip grip. This is better for it. But it's still not necessarily like, it's not enough. It's not changed enough where it's like, you know what I mean? You're not switching entirely mice. You're still going for the same mouse, just better for fingertip grip, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's see. What else is there to say about it personally? There's a lot to say. I'm just really organizing the thoughts in my head in terms of what I want to comment on. So kind of random and maybe particularly out of order, but in my first video I made about it, I talked about the coating, how it was really immaculate, and it's probably my favorite coating. It's not entirely wrong, but that's somewhat changed. My opinion has somewhat changed. So it is still a very good coating. I think it's less good now than it was, but it's still very much one of the grippiest coatings I have. But the problem with it is it wears so quickly. Look at this. Do you see that? I've used this mouse for less time than you think. I've had it for I've had it for about a month, and it has not been my main mouse. I've used it a substantial amount of time, just it's not my main mouse. You know, in that time, I still went back to my B6 Mini, and then at that time I also got my ULX Sakura, which then I started using a lot. And this happened really fast. And I don't think it's because like you saw how I cleaned it with alcohol wipes earlier. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I'm pretty sure this happened a lot earlier. And it just kind of like, as you can see, it kind of stains pretty easily too. Like even after cleaning it, you can see that it just kind of stains easily again. That's not the hugest concern in the world, but what really bothers me is how quickly you can see that shine. Like I said, I've owned this for less than a month and it has not been my main mouse. Sure, I would say maybe it's gotten regular use. I'd say if like you were a regular person, you're not an enthusiast, you're not a hyper nerd, you're not a gamer, you're not like a no life gamer like me. So I guess it's gotten regular use, but still less than a month. And I mean, just look at it. You know what I mean? As much as I love the look of this mouse and I like the quality of Pulsar, seeing this on a mouse is kind of gross for a month. Like this is what I expect a mouse to look like after a year. You know what I mean? So that's really disappointing for me. If that's something you don't care about, or you're gonna put grip tape on it anyways, then I guess that doesn't really matter. But for someone who, I mean, like, come on, it's kind of nasty. For just 1 month, that's a big disappointment. Although I do want to note that the coating still is grippy and it's still pretty solid. So if you were absolutely set on not using any grip tape, this might be your best bet. So yeah, that's enough about the coating for now. Let's move on to other aspects. So it really is just a cut down X2, so I'd say expect nothing of it other than just the X2, but better for fingertip grip. That is literally all that is. It's still an X2 though. So if you wanted to go into deep fingertip grip, if you wanted to go into like, you know, like the niche of it, you're still going to have its limitations of it being a safe shape. It's still very good though. I'm not saying it's bad, and it might be preference, of course, to what shape you do, what shape you prefer in terms of like your play style. But I'm just letting you know that is the case. So for example, like for me, I'm a little bit of a more tense fingertip grip player. Like I play, I prefer a little bit more, I don't prefer relaxed fingertip grip. If you've seen my G-Wolves ASIN video, I talked about how I'm not relaxed fingertip grip. This is kind of a hybrid in the middle, where it's a safe shape, so it's a little bit better for relaxed, but it's still not bad. You know, in my ASIN video, I probably said too that I very much still think it's a top tier, and that it's not that much different. It's just if I was getting into the nitty gritty, that I'd probably prefer the Meow or other mice a little bit more because I'm able to tense it. This one is somewhere in the middle, and it's fine. It's good. It's not my preferred shape, but it's definitely like easily up there. Like it's not really a bother to me. It's just that if I had a choice, I'd probably, like, if I had to really fine tune my grip style or my grip preference, shape preference, it'd probably go to something like the B6 Mini or the ULX Sakura or even the Meow, or just a little bit more, but not by that much more. You know what I mean? Just by like if I was really going down to it. So yeah, something I noted also about fingertip grip for me was these side buns. These are regular side buns, and they're kind of like pointing outwards like that. But if you're a fingertip grip player like me, a concern might be that for me, I played like this, where my like near the top where these buttons would get in the way. But thankfully with the WL mice, their buttons are flattened, so it's a lot more minimized. With the ULX Sakura, it's just higher, so it was fine for me. But with this, as you can see, when I first started using it, it was actually kind of annoying. It was like I wanted to hold it like right here, and as you can see, it was kind of, you know, like that in the way. Like I can actually press it. I've more or less somewhat adapted to it, and I've put my finger here. But if these were gone, I maybe would use my mouse like, if I had to guess, like maybe like right. Hold on, I don't even know. I'd probably use it like a little bit higher, like just a little bit higher. But right now it's hard, I can't do that, so I'm probably a little bit forced to put it a little bit lower. So something to keep note of, it's a little bit more mitigated on side buns that are flat. So maybe I would have preferred to see that, but I don't know. That's completely preference, and this sticks to the Pulsar shape thing, where the side buttons are, you know, they're still very clicky, still very nice, and they're still like just fine, you know. But if you were into the fingertip thing, I'm just letting you know that it might be a concern. My whole thumb it can kind of fit like this, but as you can see, it's like still, you know. But I don't know, maybe I have a fat thumb, I don't know. But the ULX is the only mouse that really doesn't have that huge problem with it. Even with the B6 Mini, it's a little bit. But like I said, it's flat side buttons. So yeah, that's enough about the side buttons. Let's talk about everything else. The software for the X2F is really nice. It's I think it's called Bibimbap. And it's really solid. I like it. It's very professional. I think Pulsar, what they do well is they do very premium branding, and they do it very solid. So their software online, the way their mice looks, the way their branding is, everything up to it is high quality in my opinion. And you are paying kind of a brand tax for that, you know, as well as for that, just how nice it looks, how not nice everything is. Which you might be fine with. It's high quality still, but that's just something to keep note of. So I like their software. I haven't gotten to test it exclusively or extensively, but at the very least, I liked it from the time I used it, and I would keep using it personally. So yeah, what else to say? I've used regular skates, but these are G-Wolf stock skates, but I have used the regular skates. They're fine. They're just not my preference because they're just BTFE skates, but they were fine. Nothing too much to comment about. So what else is to say? Battery life felt fine to me. I had no particular comments, but then again, I've never really noticed. I never was bothered by any battery, including the ASIN battery, even though that one is kind of short. So take that for what you will. I also never bothered with the 8K polling or 4K polling or 2K polling. I'm always a 1K polling person because like even I have a really strong setup, and the fact that I even get a little bit more lag with higher polling rate and I doesn't even notice, it's not even a noticeable difference, makes me just stay away from it clearly. So I've always been a firm believer that high polling rate is just more of a gimmick more than anything. It might mean something at some point, but for the most part it's a gimmick and I wouldn't recommend it. So I stay away from that. So I have no comments about the high polling rate implementation or anything like that. But of course, no issues with sensors and everything. It's like most modern gaming mice, the sensors are such high quality where I'd say they're all about equivalent nowadays, and I wouldn't notice. I don't notice a single issue on any of these mice, like at all. Nothing to comment on. I wouldn't even be worried about sensor issues. So, what else is there to say? The switches are fine. They're Huana blue shell pink dots. They're nothing too special though. They're tried and true, but they're nothing too special. So yeah, they're light because they're relatively light, but not the lightest clicks. The Omron clicks are definitely going to be lighter, you know what I mean, on both of these, the WL mouse. But they're definitely like, you know, maybe slightly on the heavier side even for a Huana blue shell pink dot implementation, just ever so slightly, but I don't know. That's just, at that point, that's nitpicking right there. So yeah. The Pulsar encoder is something I kind of like personally. I like it less now that I've tried even better implementations, but the Pulsar encoder has always been really something I really enjoyed. It's just been really nice. Just felt really nice in general. Like it just feels good to use. My opinion has slightly changed after using different encoders. Like even the B6 Mini's encoder I like a little bit more now, and the ULX Sakura's is really good too. The only thing I don't like about the ULX Sakura's one is its plastic scroll wheel where it's not really grippy, while these other ones have. But the X2A I still think is a solid encoder. It was probably my favorite encoder at one point. But now that I've used the other mice, I do prefer these ever so slightly. It's a little loose now, but other than that, it's a really good encoder. It feels really nice to use the scroll wheel, and I'm happy with it. But now I have preference, so yeah. Overall, the X2F in my line sits at a like a very good mouse. I can still use this. You know what I mean? It is not my #1 choice, but it's nothing to scoff at. It's nothing that makes me like, I wouldn't be afraid to recommend it. The only thing I don't like recommending about the X2F is, well, one, the coding like I mentioned, and two, the price tag. But at the same point, it is kind of the same price as the WL mouse, but like, I don't know. I guess that's just all what's the word, enthusiast mice, especially like the ULX Sakura. Jesus Christ, that thing. But all these mice actually cost about the same, so I guess I'm not really one to say about the price. You know what, in that case, if that's the case, if these all cost the same price, I guess I'm not too upset about it. Though it is not metal though, compared to these magnesium alloy mice. So if that's something that like you value, because it kind of does feel higher quality, you know, I do feel more safe, more, what's the word? confident about build quality because, you know, plastic, I think it's ABS/nylon versus magnesium alloy. I would feel more confident with it. Although this is such a good implementation in such a good way that I don't feel like this is like, it's plastic technically, you know what I mean? But that's about it. Technically, it still feels good to me. So I really like the build quality of this mouse generally, and I like Pulsar mice. They've done really well. So yeah, verdict on the X2F. A solid mouse, honestly. If I think the biggest ways Pulsar could make this mouse better. Let's see. Number one is weight, because if they're trying to sell, well, to make everyone happy. This isn't to make the perfect mouse for me, but to make the most people happy. They would I'd say lowering the weight lowering the weight, and then 2, fixing the coating. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me actually at that point, because like, look, come on, bro. But for the most part, it's a very solid mouse. Now, if we're talking about just purely me and what I want to see in a mouse, and what I would change is I would either get rid of these side buns entirely or make them very flat, or I'd put them somewhere else. I think I might prefer no side buns because I really rather have that good grip. Side buns can be useful, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's just been a thing I'm not sure. Just these side buns they're fine, they're good, but if I really wanted to focus on just my aim, I think I'd probably get rid of those. But yeah. Other things I would change. I would change the encoder now because I found better encoders, but it was fine at the time. The switches, I like light switch implementation, so I'd also go lighter switches, so personally. But yeah, I guess what there is to say is everything that I would change about this mouse is just preference. There's nothing particularly bad about it, you know, except the closest thing to objectively bad is the weight, as it could be lighter. And that's what most people want. But for me, it's a lot of preference stuff, like flat side buns or no side buns, lighter clicks, better different encoder, not even better necessarily, just different encoder. And like, yeah, I guess the next objective bad thing would be the coating being like literally you know, wearing faster. But besides that, it's a great mouse, and I don't see a reason not to use it over other ones. Like there's no obviously like, oh, just pick up a Beast-X Mini, or this is the Meow, but you know what I mean. Because overall, it's mostly just, in my opinion, preference stuff. There's nothing to say that like this is a low quality mouse. Like there's no reason why you shouldn't get this. You should just get this. Because from what I know, there's the biggest competitor to the X2F is the CrazyLight itself. And honestly, it's slightly better for fingertip because you have less to interact with in terms of like the claw. Like if you're a fingertip grip, you don't run into that possibility of hitting that. So if you're going pure fingertip and you wanted to use, then this is just slightly better than the CrazyLight. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's not remarkably different from the CrazyLight. You know, there's nothing that makes it go like, oh, here's why you'd get this. The only reason why is it's slightly better fingertip grip. The weight's not much lighter. You know what I mean? It's not like there's anything else special about it. It's just the X2 CrazyLight or the X2 just made for fingertip grip. So yeah, that's gonna be my video on the X2F. Overall, an okay mouse, pretty solid actually. Just for me personally, I have different shape preference, I have different slight other preferences, but honestly not something I hate, and in fact I think most people who would have this mouse would like it. It's really solid, and yeah. So, personal points to conclude. Not my favorite mouse because I prefer a tensor shape. I prefer slightly lighter clicks, but they're fine, they're not bad. I preferred a different encoder, although like I said, this is also a very good encoder too. This is good. It's good, just not my exact preference. So yeah, so encoder, the coating is super nice, except for the fact that it wears very much so. And besides that, I guess that's it, because I mean shape, like I told you, yeah, those are the biggest gripes for me. Shape, slightly preference, maybe smaller. Side buns or no side buns or flat side buns I'd prefer. Clicks, lighter clicks. Encoder would be a little bit different. Like, but even though I don't hate any of these things. The shape is fine, it's safe, it's good. The clicks are very solid, standard, they're nice. The scroll wheel's still very good, and the side buns are also just fine. But like I said, these are just minor nitpicks for me if I actually were to ever, if I wanted to like say why this is not my main mouse and why, you know. But other than that, I really love everything else about it. I love Pulsar style. I love Pulsar. I love how this mouse looks. I love how Pulsar software is, and just in general, their products are relatively high quality. And so, yeah, you are paying a premium though, so something to keep note of. But other than that, I think that's going to be my video. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, or I was going to see a full review, this is the full review. If you want to see anything else about Pulsar mice, gaming mice in general, fingertip grip mice, literally anything you like that and stuff like nerd shit like that, feel free to like and sub. That's totally up to you whether you do or not. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. But other than that, I think that's going to be my video. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.